We've talked about a few different cryptids already, like the Fresno Nightcrawler. People make stuffed animals of the Fresno Nightcrawler and sell them on Etsy. The Loveland Frog, they have a whole festival. That's the Loveland's mascot. But I don't think anyone takes their mythical creatures more seriously than the Irish. They take it so seriously that in the 1920s, when there was a mass sighting of this creature, a society was formed to investigate them. And this society was serious. You had to declare 100% absolute belief in this creature. And this society was taken so seriously that even Walt Disney joined. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Samantha.
Welcome back to X-UMED. Clap your hands if you believe in fairies. Now, when you think of a fairy, what do you think of? What does it look like?
I think of Tinkerbell and Hook, or I think of the fairies in Supernatural where Dean is screaming, "Fight the fairies."
Yeah. He goes, nipples?
I don't think I've actually really given it much thought.
Well, I mean, that's usually what people think of them as. They're pretty little humanoids with wings. Not all of them look like that, though. In Irish folklore, some of them are as big as we are. Some of them are as small as ants. Some can be tall and intimidating. Some of them can have antlers and hooves and glowing eyes. And they can change their appearance to blend in with nature, kind of like chameleons.
Okay.
Some of them are depicted to have green skin and wear leafy clothes made out of leaves and foliage, which, makes sense. They live in the woods.
Yeah.
They appear eerily human, but with glowing eyes or otherworldly beauty. Some lore depicts them as ugly and misshapen with crooked noses and humpbacks. I take offense to the crooked nose thing because I have a crooked nose. Does that make me ugly?
It depends on what you think of yourself.
I'm just me. I don't care.
It's a good thing we're siblings.
Bitch.
Jerk.
That was perfect. Okay. They're called the she-folk or the wee-folk. Elves, gnomes, leprechauns, the fae, sprites, and something else. Goblins, I think. They're all a type of fairy. And they can shift in size, too. They can be as tall as we are, or like as big as we are, and then they can become really small, or vice versa. But in older folklore, they didn't have wings. They used their magic to fly. They didn't have wings. That got put into the folklore later on.
That sounds like that got put in like in a fairy tale book.
Yeah, probably. Now, if a fairy is nearby in folklore, it says you'll see a flash of light out of the corner of your eye, or you can see like little outlines and shadows of things, or like in the corner of a room, the energy will kind of look wavy to you. You know how like when you look down the street on a really hot day and you'll see like the waves of heat coming off the road?
Yeah, like the river that
Kinda the same
disappears
thing.
on the road.
Yeah. There are certain ways that you can find fairies. They're entrances to the other world, not the underworld, the other world. People believe that the other world it's underground, but it's more like a parallel universe to ours. This parallel universe is, of course, magical, but it's kind of like a different dimension, but our dimension bleeds into theirs and their dimension bleeds into ours a little bit. So like when people claim to see fairies, they'll be there and then they'll just be gone because they're interdimensional. They're just kind of going back and forth. They are allowed to come into our realm and interact with us. So they because they come in and out so much, it kind of blurs that line between our realm and theirs. And they live everywhere. You can find them in caves, in tombs, tree hollows, roots. Hawthorn trees are said to be fairy trees, and they're very respected in Ireland. They won't cut down a hawthorn tree.
So what's the significance of a hawthorn tree? Just that they live in it?
Yeah, hawthorn trees are just known to be homes for fairies. I don't know why they have picked hawthorn trees to live in, but it's just said that that's where they live sometimes. In County Roscommon in Ireland, there is a Weenagat cave. They call it the Cave of Cats the entrance to the other world and the entrance to hell. Did you take offense because it's the Cave of Cats and the entrance to
No,
hell?
no, I was wondering what cats have to do with the entrance to hell, and I'm very curious on it. I want to know more.
Some places that fairies live can only be visible to humans who have the gift. And that's basically like if you've already been to the fairy realm and come back from it, you can see these places, but only if you've already been there. Some places are only visible once every 7 years, like Green Isle, a fairy island said to sit off the Causeway Coast near Rathlin Island. And this island shows up. You can only see it every 7 years.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into fairy forts, which, I mean, they're another place to look for fairies if you want to, but fairy forts need to be respected because you mess with them and you'll be punished. They'll mess with your life. Fairy forts are ruins of stone rings, like forts around, like a dwelling, like a stone wall all the way around your land and your house. These ruins are where fairies are said to gather. A lot of times are like little party places because fairies like to party. But these ruins are really old. They're from the medieval times or the Iron Age. You got to think, Ireland's a lot older than America.
Yeah, a lot older, and stone lasts longer than what most places are built with.
Yeah. And some of these places are just toppled. They should be like, if they were in America, people would be like, what's this piece of shit? We're going to remove it and put something else there. Ireland will not do that.
Yeah,
They leave
because
it.
they want to remain what's actually there and go around it.
Well, they also have a genuine fear of fairies. They respect them. They coexist with them. To them, it's not just mythical creatures. To them, it's like, yeah, it's common sense. These things exist. So when it comes to these fairy forts, farmers and landowners plow and mow around them to avoid disturbing them, as to avoid pissing off the fairies.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. You also avoid any other kind of stone circle that like doesn't make any sense to you. Like, why are these stones in a circle? You leave that alone. That's fairy activity. Also, standing stones. Remember when I talked about standing stones in the Crossroads episode about how the standing stones at a crossroad is where fairies can come in and out of our realm? Neolithic tombs. Neolithic tombs are large prehistoric burial structures from the Stone Age, and they have megaliths that are massive stones. They have chambers created to house the dead. They're sometimes covered by earth, so it just looks like a large mound. These are all connected to the fairy realm. You leave them alone. Folklore has played more a part in protecting these structures and trees than official government institutions have.
Repeat that?
Folklore has played more a part in protecting these structures and trees than official government institutions have. That's how serious they are about fairy folklore.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah. They're not just mythical creatures to them. It's just like a matter-of-fact thing that they exist and you need to respect them and you need to kind of fear them. In 1999, a new motorway was actually rerouted to save a fairy tree.
And this is all Ireland.
Yeah.
Hell, like, I'm kind of upset by this because I visited Ireland for, I don't know, like 4 days, drove around all of Ireland, and never knew about this.
Yeah. If you're anywhere in Ireland where you see some kind of like toppled building or, you know, something run down that's just kind of sitting there, like, why is it still there? Like, obviously nobody lives there. The stones are all fallen over and everything. Why don't they do anything with this? It's fairies. They don't remove it. And let me find the story of, because this is kind of funny. Where's it at? I know where it is. A man named Sean Quinn. He was the wealthiest man in Ireland. He ended up losing everything because he moved a fairy fort. He built a factory that made DeLoreans, like DeLorean cars.
Yeah.
He built it on top of the original site of a fairy fort. He picked up this fairy fort and just kind of relocated it and built his DeLorean plant there. The building collapsed and he lost everything because you don't fuck with fairies.
I was about to say, you don't fuck with something.
So in early Christian times, The people of Ireland associated everything even remotely pagan with fairies, of course. Pre-Christian monuments are said to be built by fairies. The unexplainable and seemingly supernatural is often blamed on fairies, and they are used to explain it away. I can see that. Something weird happens. It's fairies. The fairies did it.
In the same aspect that we do aliens.
These beliefs persist to this day. People still claim to see fairies. And also in Christianity, it's uncertain whether if a fairy dies, if it's going to heaven or hell, because, pagan. Christianity doesn't like paganism. And sometimes you will hear that as a hot topic being discussed in the local pubs. People will talk about this and they'll be having conversations or even arguments, not about the existence of fairies, but about the different lore. But the main thing is that they will agree on is that, yes, fairies exist. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit more of the darker stuff. We're going to talk about fairy traps. There's different kinds. A fairy trap is to lure unsuspecting humans into the realm. Elaborate and beautiful, seemingly inviting. Like you'll go to the woods and be walking around and you'll see just like a clearing of nothing but, pretty bloomed flowers everywhere. Of course, you want to walk through it, but you shouldn't, because it could be fairies trying to trap you. Sometimes they trap you for amusement. Sometimes it's for malicious intent, like taking you and putting you to labor. It's never really
putting
explained.
you to labor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's never really explained to the human when they're kidnapped. Like, they never explain to them why they kidnapped them. They just have to find out on their own, I guess. And there are different types of fairy traps. There's a mushroom ring. You've seen mushroom rings, right? Science says that mushroom rings come from like a network of roots, like underneath. It'll start from one mushroom, and the way that the roots grow out, it grows in a circle. So then after it rains, all of these mushrooms come up in a circle. I mean, it makes sense. There's what kind of trees are there where like it's not just it's one huge root system?
Aspen.
Okay, same. It's kind of the same concept. But in fairy folklore, these mushroom rings are fairy rings. They symbolize magic, danger, or portals. They're called elf rings, pixie rings, and they're believed to be where fairies dance at night, which is cute,
Yeah, that's adorable.
Yeah. In some cultures, it symbolizes good luck and a place to find hidden treasures. Sometimes it means that there's a fairy village underground underneath it. In Germany, it's called a witch's ring. Go back to our Crossroads episode. Witches dance within the circle on Walpurgis night, which is 6 months before Halloween. Remember the Crossroads episode where I said on Walpurgis night, people go to the crossroads and crack whips to scare the witches away? Connection.
All of our episodes connect in some way.
Kinda, yeah. In Austrian folklore, it's dragons that make the mushroom rings. They burn them into the forest floor with their tails. Thought that was kind of cute. But you don't step into a fairy ring.
What will happen?
I'm looking. If you enter a fairy ring, you can become invisible and get trapped there. So you'll just have to stand there and nobody will see you and nobody can rescue you because they don't know you're standing there. You can also lose time, or since witches and fairies dance in the ring, they will make you dance and you'll be forced to dance to your death. Like just dance until you die.
Hocus pocus.
Oh, yeah. I remember that part. There's also dancing leaves. Now, have you seen the videos? Everything will be still. There's no wind, but then there's that one leaf that's just moving around, or it'll be a flower that's moving and everything else is still.
I believe so.
That's a fairy trap. Well, science says it's different air currents that will just make one thing move and nothing else. And I don't understand how that would even work. I'm not a scientist, whatever. But in fairy folklore, it's a fairy trap. They're trying to get your attention and they're trying to lure you away from what you were doing. So If you see something like that, just walk away from it. There's also things like if you come across a location that seems to be abandoned or untouched by humans, like a rundown, like abandoned cottage in the woods, or an unattended table with an elaborate meal laid out. Where the hell would you find something like that? Like, I don't understand that one. Like, there's not going to
And
be a table made up with a meal on it in the middle of the woods.
I mean, depending on what era, 1300s, 1600s, that's a lot of fairy tale type things.
That is true. Yeah. So when they kidnap you, they sometimes make you work for them. If you work for them for 7 years, they'll let you come back and they will actually give you payment sometimes. And it'll be a magical coin that will either disappear when you get back into this realm, or it'll be a coin that when you spend it, it reappears like back into your pocket. However, and that would be cool and everything, but that coin also comes with a curse. When you're in the fairy realm, though, let's say you work for them for 7 years. If you're in the fairy realm for an hour, you could miss a whole year here because time works differently in the fairy realm. So I think
Huh, so,
time must work however they feel like letting it work. You know what I mean?
so you have money that comes back to you?
Yeah, they'll give you a magical coin. If you spend it, it will just come back to you. You'll have it in your pocket, you'll take it out, buy something with it, and then it'll reappear in your pocket.
Okay, never mind about the time warp thing. I'll take that.
But it comes with a curse. And it doesn't specify what that curse is. I think the curse is specific to you.
Well, that can be dangerous.
Yeah. Also, if you are allowed to come back, you are not allowed to talk about your experience. You're not allowed to tell anyone where you were. And if you see a fairy, you are not allowed to acknowledge it. A lot of folklore says that you can see fairies if you've already been to the realm and come back. But if you acknowledge that you have seen a fairy, you will be punished. And the way that they punish you is they will either take your memory away or they will take your voice away.
I don't know what's worse.
How about just don't mess with them at all? Just if you're kidnapped and brought back, just, do what they tell you to do. Follow their rules. Now, they don't just steal you for labor. They steal your kids too. And replace them with changelings.
Shit.
Yeah.
We've talked about changelings in another episode.
We talked about changelings. Where did we talk about changelings? Was it the Black-Eyed Children episode?
It was either that or the Christmas episode. I think it was Black-Eyed Children.
I think it was too. Now, they take your children either to replace a sickly child, to punish human parents, to raise them as their own, or they're sometimes kept as pets. Can you imagine keeping a kid as a pet?
I have any kids for a reason. I do not want a kid as a pet.
Oh yeah, you would 100% put a toddler on one of those leashes.
I would have held a toddler up and asked for it to be changed to something like a cat or a ferret.
You're so weird. Okay. So if a fairy takes your child and replaces it with a changeling, there are signs. The appearance is eerily different, but the same. They'll have advanced knowledge and abilities. They will grow rapidly. And they're always eating and never satisfied. So they're either crying because they're hungry or they're eating and they're never satisfied. Now, in the times that kids are taken, is usually between midnight and dawn or under a full moon, or if the kids are left unattended during the twilight hours, like midnight and dawn, or if a baby is sleeping near a fairy ring or an ancient burial mound. Eclipses and meteor showers are also a good time for fairies to take kids. They really like to take unbaptized children also. And in a lot of the older fairy folklore, they like to take firstborn sons.
Well, I mean, all of this makes sense.
Does it?
Like, yeah, because you're talking about everything in the nothing good comes at night. You're
Not
talking
really.
about full moon, eclipses, nothing good happens there. Firstborn sons, they're heirs.
Yeah.
So you go back to, I don't know, a couple of different of our episodes. We're talking about heirs.
Mm-hmm.
To have a male son, especially firstborn, is very special.
Yeah. Now, to get rid of a changeling, this is weird. If you notice that you have a changeling, what you're supposed to do is boil water in 2 eggshells over an open fire. This will make the changeling laugh because it's, I guess, just a ridiculous thing to see someone boiling water in 2 eggshells. And when they laugh, they give themselves away. And when that happens, other fairies show up and they take the changeling away and give you your kid back.
That's kind of adorable.
It's... yeah, but creepy.
It's kind of adorable.
There's something else that I want to look into later about changelings, and I think if I can find enough information on it, I'm going to do a full episode. It is the murder of Bridget Cleary in 1895. Her husband, along with a lot of her family, like brutally tortured and murdered her because they literally thought she was a changeling. All because she came down with bronchitis. She had bronchitis or pneumonia or something like that, and she was sick in bed. And they're like, she's not acting normal. She's not up and walking around and doing her chores, so she must be a changeling. There's a lot more to the story, of course. But everyone involved got punished, but they got let off light. Like her husband, instead of being convicted of murder, he was convicted of manslaughter, and he served 15 out of the 20 years that he was sentenced. So they got light sentences. And this is because of everyone's full-on belief in fairies and changelings. Like, okay, he murdered his wife, but I mean, you gotta think, take into consideration, she could have been a changeling. That's how they were thinking.
Okay.
Now we're gonna come to, I think, the most interesting part of fairy lore. This is why the Irish take fairy lore so seriously. It's not lore to them, it's actual history.
Yeah, it makes sense.
No, it's actual history. Where do I begin here? All around Ireland, there are these mounds, right? They just look like earthen mounds. But you get closer to them and you realize that there are tunnels in these mounds. And if you're standing on top of one and you look out, you see all kinds of different mounds everywhere. And I'm pretty sure these tunnels that go into the mounds connect. And this is where an ancient tribe is said to live. These mounds date back over 5,000 years. They're not natural. They are constructed by man. Nobody knows who built them. Some of these mounds have the oldest known writing on tablets from the 6th century AD. And these are more than 3,000 years after the mounds are believed to be built. There is no written record of who built these mounds. Historians and archaeologists can only speculate, and they believe that they're for gatherings and rituals. I wonder if you can go into those today.
Well, when you research, has the Hill of Tara popped up?
The Hill of Tara? Yes.
Yes.
We'll get there in a second.
Okay.
Newgrange is Ireland's largest and oldest mound. It's over 200,000 tons of stone. There's a passageway to a central chamber, and human bones have been found there. Human bone fragments. In Irish folklore, this mound is the dwelling place of otherworldly beings called the She. Now, the She is either the people or the mountains. If it's the people, they usually call them she-folk. If it's the mountains itself, it's just the She. But if you are talking to a fairy and call it she, it's disrespectful. They don't like it. They don't like being called that. Now, if you disturb one of these mounds in any way, these mounds are fairy forts. Bad luck will follow you for the rest of your life. And most Irish people, the locals, know never, ever to disturb any kind of fairy fort at all whatsoever. Now, these mounds are so important because, like I said, these mounds are for the ancient tribe.
Yeah.
It's where the ancient tribe communed and lived. This ancient tribe is called the Tuatha-Dedana. I've heard it pronounced all kinds of different ways. The Tuatha-De came from the mystical realm of the Otherworld. So the Tuatha-De are said to be the original inhabitants of Ireland. And in folklore, they came to Earth in a big dark cloud of mist and landed on a mountaintop. And they imparted knowledge and technology to the people of Ireland, helped them, further themselves along. What does that sound like to you?
Aliens.
Yeah, of course they are. Aliens. Some people think that they're demigods. They're not immortal, but they don't age. They don't age.
They at least don't age in the aspect that we age.
Yeah. Nobody knows whether they're not immortal because I guess you can kill them if you wanted to, but they don't age. They can live to be hundreds and thousands of years old. Now, the weird part about this is they're not the only ones in folklore, or not even folklore, mythology, who have come to Earth and landed on a mountaintop from a large, dark mist cloud. The Anunnaki did it, and so did the Nephilim. So we're not going to talk about the Nephilim. I will get into that later on in another episode, though. But the Anunnaki is supposed to be an alien race that actually kind of helped to create the first human man. That's going into religion. This is just a theory that I've heard. Okay? Now, the thing is they connect the Tuatha-De with the Anunnaki. They're either the one and the same, or they're very similar to each other. They both impart knowledge. They both came to Earth in the same way. And the Dedanan are from a goddess called Danu. The Anunnaki are associated with the god Anu. So is it the same thing? Just in a different language or dialect? I don't know. But think about this. If the Tuatha-De are actually the Anunnaki, and if the Anunnaki goes all the way back to Atlantis, like some people say they do, was the Count of Saint Germain a fairy?
Could have been.
He didn't age.
Could have been an alien. Could have been anything.
I know.
That's
I
what's
just thought it
so
was
interesting about all of this is if you believe that something's weird, or that something could be weird, there's so many different obstacles. There's so many different avenues.
Yeah.
to
And
go
there's so
down.
many things that connect because we were talking about Count of Saint Germain, about how there's a theory that he goes all the way back to Atlantis. And then I read this about the fairies and the Anunnaki, and how the Anunnaki, they think, goes back to Atlantis, and it all just kind of tied together. I'm like, holy shit, was Count of Saint Germain a fairy? If you connect all the right dots,
Or an alien or Atlantean.
Yeah, but Atlanteans
all
could have
the
been
same.
fairies.
Yes. Or mermaids, or it's all intertwined.
I know. It's crazy. Now, the Tuatha-De didn't always live in the earth. They lived among the people like everyone else. They're the ones that imparted knowledge. They got their knowledge from the Anunnaki. And they passed it down to actually the Druids. The Druids worked very closely with the Tuatha-De. That is a hard thing to say. Tuatha-De. So the Druids were priests. They acted as judges. They acted as wizards, right? One of the most famous of the Druids was Merlin.
Who's Merlin?
And Merlin was like a wizard. I don't know much about Merlin, but yeah, he was a druid and he did magic. You know who the Druids are, right? They're like the Celtic high priests.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I had to include Merlin in this because I just thought this was really cool. I thought you would appreciate this part. Merlin, with the magic that he learned from the Tuatha-Dedana, there is a theory that he levitated very large stones from Ireland and moved them to England to make something that you have seen.
Stonehenge.
Yep.
There are so many different things on Stonehenge because the stones originally were not from there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they can't figure out how they got there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stones that have different compositions to them, meaning that they were from different locations, and they can't figure out how these big, heavy stones got from all these different locations there. And there is a theory that they were levitated by, either Druid magic or what do they call it? Misunderstood technology, according to
Which
the Ancient
I
Aliens show. They're always talking about
well,
misunderstood technology.
no, I mean that makes perfect sense
It
because
does.
regardless of how they were there, it's to us right now it is misunderstood. It
Mhm.
could be so simple, but we can't figure it out yet.
Yeah. Now, after a while, there was a warrior tribe that came, and they drove the Tuatha-Dedana under the ground. These were the Milesians. I think that's how you pronounce it, and they came from the south. They're mostly from like Greece and Crete, and they had a battle with the Tuatha, and the Tuatha lost. And they made a compromise that they could both be in Ireland, but one lives above ground and one goes under. And that's how the Otherworld came to be. And the Tuatha-De went under the ground to the Otherworld. That realm came to be. They have all their magic there, and they used their magic to turn into what they are now, which is all different kinds of what we would call fairies, gnomes, leprechauns, all of that. All different sizes. They all look different. They all do different things. And the local native Irish people are said to be descendant from the Milesians. That's what they believe.
I've heard that before.
So for them, the fairies is kind of their origin story.
It makes sense.
So they're not mythical beings to them. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of Irish people that don't believe in fairies, but the fairy lore is very serious, and people really do believe that they're more historical figures, historical beings than mythical. I'm not even sure I would call a fairy a cryptid. Would you?
Well, cryptids are kind of unproven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Fairies
know.
are unproven too, but there's so many people who have seen fairies. And the society, what's it called? What's the society called? The Society for the Investigation of Fairies. Very serious and very scientific. Collect data on all of these sightings. Their objective is to study the fairies and figure out their purpose and communicate with them. Like I said, in order to get into this society, you have to fully believe in their existence. You have to claim absolute 100% belief in their existence. And people from all over reported sightings of them. And witnesses have reported to them about fairies leading them to find buried relics. They've seen fairies walking through solid walls, transforming into orbs of light. All of these, the society recorded, and they investigated it. Now, the society existed until World War II, but all of their records were destroyed. But research started again in 1949. Hundreds of members joined in the 50s, including Walt Disney, and the society still exists today.
I mean, Walt Disney wanted to make fairy tales.
Yeah.
But you're asking about if fairies could be not exactly cryptid, but true. But okay, so cryptids are also in the realm of supernatural. And the definition of supernatural is attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature. So this is the concept of this entire podcast is one, dark history, and the other is things you can't explain by scientific measures,
Yeah.
which is what supernatural would be, and cryptids is under that. So if you can't fully explain fairies in a scientific measure, then yeah, it would be supernatural. But with all the accounts, you just can't fully explain it yet. So still, yeah, I would think it'd be a cryptid.
Yeah. But the society still exists to this day. Like, you can join the society. You don't have to declare absolute belief in fairies anymore. You can join the society and you can have conversations. It's kind of like a message board, you know?
Yeah.
They welcome skeptics now. Before, they didn't welcome skeptics. But when you are looking for the truth, you need skeptics. You
yes.
need information and theories from all sides.
You need people to poke holes
Yeah,
in every aspect.
exactly. I think it's cool. I want to get online and see if I can find it and read the message board and see what people say about them. I want to see what they found. They've already investigated some of the mounds. I mean, that's how they found the human bone fragments in the one. You remember you just asked me about the Hill of Tara?
Yeah.
The Hill of Tara is a place where fairy sightings are the most often reported. The Hill of Tara has a standing stone called the Leafal or Leafale, depending on how you're going to pronounce it. And it was said to be a gift from the Tuatha-Dedana. It's called the Stone of Destiny, and it's about 5 feet tall, and it's a place of extraordinary energy. Now, this standing stone has its own energy, and when it comes in contact with the Hill of Tara, which has its own energy, it creates a whole different type of energy. And it's believed that this energy is what draws the fairies to it, and that's why you see so many sightings there. It's also believed that when the rightful king of Ireland comes to the stone will scream out that he is the rightful king, and he's given power and long life. To this day, ceremonies still take place on the Hill of Tara.
I've been there.
Was it cool?
Yes, it was neat. I was more fascinated with, while you're walking up there, there is a very old cemetery to your right. I believe that there is a tomb inside of the main hill, or not a tomb, like whatever the word is for multiple tombs. I can't remember. I can't think right now. That is closed off to the public right now.
Catacombs?
And yes, catacombs.
Okay.
It's closed off to the public. It has been for quite a few years. I was there, I think, 12 years ago, and it was closed off. I was also there in June, which is very rainy season for Ireland. So walking was limited. It was neat. The
Did
one
you see
thing
any
now that I do,
mushrooms?
I
It
really
was
don't remember.
rainy.
I don't remember, but one thing that I do regret is taking a rock. And I didn't realize that I took a rock until I got home. And I still have the rock. I remember picking up, putting it in my pocket, and I thought that I tossed it out, and I did not realize until a couple of weeks later and I got home. I still have it. So I'm hoping that at one point in time, when I go back to Ireland, I can return it.
You can put it back.
Yes, I can.
Do you
It's
feel like
neat
it
to
brings
have,
you any
but
bad luck?
no, I mean, I have it in a bunch of sand with like different shells that I've picked up. One, it's not exactly legal to do. Two, it's just, you don't want that juju with you, just in case. And I also feel guilty about, like, I really thought that I had taken it out of my pants and dropped this somewhere after I was told, no, you probably should not do that. I mean, we're being stormed on. We're walking through the entire area. We're going into the gift shop. It was just, had to have been slip of the mind.
Yeah.
Because when I got home, I felt so guilty about it, and I still do. So I still have it. It's small black rock.
I just think it's cool how they don't get rid of their ruins and they mow around things that they think are fairy forts, and they will reroute roadways so that they don't have to cut down fairy trees. That's really cool. There's a podcast that I was listening to, and they were talking about fairy forts and fairy trees. And this guy's like, you can give me all the money in the world, all the power in the world, and tell me all I have to do is cut down a fairy tree, and I will give it all back to you and say no.
I mean, that's very deep.
It is. Oh, one of the punishments, though, for, what is it? one of the punishments for demolishing oh no, here's what it is. Fairies can sometimes invite you into their realm. Okay. They'll invite you into their realm and you can dance with them and you can party with them and everything. And then, they'll let you go. But you have to understand that if you spend an hour with the fairies in their realm, you could come back to our realm and it'll be at least a year later. You will lose time. Secondly, if you refuse their invitation, sometimes they will overrun your house and you can't get them to leave. They will overtake your home. They will overtake your life. Just like the Supernatural episode where they're like, he's got this spell in the book that tells him how to get rid of fairies and they won't let him near the book, remember? And he can't get him to leave. That's supposed to be a real thing.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing is that I didn't even write this down. I just saw a video on it about, how people have fairy gardens. Like I have a little fairy garden. I have a couple little doors at the bottom of my trees in a corner of my backyard. A little fairy garden. People have those signs in their fairy gardens that say don't piss off the fairies. Over in Ireland, you take that warning seriously. But it said that if a fairy does come into your fairy garden, they kind of look at it like, "Aw, that's cute." But it's not like a, "Aw, that's cute" kind of thing. It's more like, "Aw, bless your heart, dummy."
I'm not making that shit my home. Thanks for trying.
Yeah. So I think that's all I know about fairies and aliens and all that stuff for now. I don't know. I don't think fairies are aliens, but
They're
who
aliens
knows?
enough.
Huh?
They're aliens enough.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, with everything in the world, let's pretend that everything exists. Fairies, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, all these cryptids that we're going to end up talking about. Throw in, witches exist. Throw in vampires. Throw in all that stuff. Let's say all of it exists and we exist too. We're all aliens. Everything.
Yeah. We're all in our own category.
Yeah. We're all just different races of different things. And, there's a theory out there, big theory out there that we didn't even come from the earth. We are not even of the earth. So
well, there is that.
Yeah. So let's just show us the aliens, show us the fairies, and show us everything else, and we'll coexist. That would be cool.
That would be.
That's all I know, though.
Okay, well, that was an interesting one.
I hope it turned out. I don't know. Coming up soon, I have a vampire to talk about, so stay tuned for that. I have a haunted object to talk about. I have a couple of haunted objects to talk about. What do you have coming up?
To be determined. Eventually talk about Queen Mary of Scots, maybe Nostradamus, maybe Edgar Cayce, maybe aliens in the ocean. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, stay tuned because we're back posting episodes every week. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, like and share and comment and follow and all of the things. It helps us get out there to more people. It helps us grow. And thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.